A Wet Road America and Toyota GR Cup North America ready to go here at America's National Park of Speed. This is a complete change from what we saw yesterday, indeed, for what all of these drivers have practiced for over the course of the weekend. DJ Clark up here in the commentary booth alongside Ryan Marine. A new pole sitter on the front of the grid. We will be starting under yellow flag conditions to make sure these drivers know how they're doing. This has all of the recipe to make an absolutely fascinating race, Ryan.
Well, I'll tell you what, the grid is totally mixed up. The weather conditions are mixed up from what we've seen so far this weekend. 69 degrees in the air, 75 degrees on track, but maybe more importantly, you can see the rain still falling. Not nearly as heavily as it was 30 minutes or so ago, but it's still significant. Plenty of standing water in places around this 4-mile facility as well. But you look at the qualifying results, and some of the heavy hitters are starting mid-pack in a way you wouldn't expect. Weston Workman is down in 10th, for instance, the championship leader coming in, and some others as well. Jackson Bell struggling somewhat. He's starting down in 6th. Meanwhile, some newcomers really impressive in qualifying. So totally mixed up starting grid, and then different conditions than we've seen all weekend long.
And a few new faces, a few returning faces, as you said, including Rutledge Wood, who we got a view of a little bit earlier. Let's go ahead and take a look at that grid, as it will be Max Schweid and Parker DeLong, a Tech Sport 1-2 leading the way. Jeremy Fletcher, one of those newcomers that you mentioned for Copeland Motorsports, will roll off in the 3rd position. And then it was the first-time winner in last rounds. That's Ethan Goulart, Tech Sport, taking 3 of the top 4 positions. Has to feel good for that team. Will Robusto will line up in 5th place, followed by Jackson Bell, one of those drivers we're used to seeing towards the pointy end of the field. He's going to have his work cut out for him. Spike Kolbecker, RV8 Graphics Motorsport by Speed Syndicate, will roll off 7th. Then it's Christian Weir. Livio Galante rolls off 9th, the first of your Legends drivers. And then championship points leader Weston Workman will roll off 10th. Ford Koch will be 11th, with Ethan Tovo flanking him. Jackson Tovo, his brother, going to be lining up just behind him in 13th place. Massimo Sanseri able to come in 14th after a big wreck earlier in the weekend. Jack Murchison for Copeland Motorsports in 15th. Then it's Jensen Sofronis, Max Stallone, who had a big impressing run last time out in VIR, and Farron Davis will be flanking him in row 9. Carl Foreman for Precision Racing LA will be 19th, followed by Peyton Fane there in 20th. Brett Kowalski rolls off 21st, followed by Beltray Curtis, another driver that had a little bit of an incident earlier on. Andrew Gilliland, part of that Eagles Canyon Racing crew, will line up alongside John Lennon. Tom Rudney and Jeff Curry will make up row 13. And then the aforementioned Rutledge Wood, he'll be in 27th. Then my big story, Lucas Weisenberg, one of the championship hopefuls, he'll be lining up in 28th.
That is a massive story, DJ. Weisenberg, one of just 2 drivers to have won multiple races so far this season, and the early championship leader as well. But chassis change has him starting at the back of this pack, all the way back in 28th. He's got his work cut out for him to get up through the field and try and salvage something here this weekend.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Lucas a little bit earlier in the day. Obviously disappointed about that, but I think, Ryan, you hit the nail on the head. It is salvage at this point for the young driver who recently moved to Texas from California. He really said he's just got to try to salvage, get as many points as he can, and hopefully get up into the points as a result of that, and be able to hold on to something and not let Weston Workman run away in this championship. And as we sort of talked about last round at VIR, swept Sebring did Weston Workman, winning his first 2 races in dramatic fashion, and then put a resounding seal of success again at VIR.
Yeah, and he's extended his points lead now to 39, which we've seen bigger ones in the history of this championship, but with the way this season has gone, as nip and tuck as it has been since the start of the year at Sonoma, 39 points seems like a pretty healthy margin. And actually, we saw some quotes from Weston in the press to that effect, saying, this is a strange place to be. I know that even if I don't take the start of a race, even if second place in points wins, I would still have a points lead, and that's not a luxury that he's accustomed to.
Yes, it is. Taking a look right now at the area just outside the kink. Ryan, you were on the call for this a little bit earlier. A very, very scary wreck coming out of that corner in our previous round.
Yeah, that's right. Justin Rothberg, who is the championship leader in GT America, powered by AWS, going for a title as well in GT World Challenge America, caught out by the wet conditions, took a shallow line, ended up in a puddle, and it sent him right around and hard into the concrete wall on the outside of the kink. So heavy damage to the car, which meant there was debris all over the place. Consequently, we're in a bit of a holding pattern here, getting ready to get this race underway.
And as we said, this race will start under yellow flag conditions. We will start under the safety car, and that also means that we will be heading out in a single file start. So that is how this is going to build up. That is how this is going to go. Ethan Goulart, one of the drivers that we talked about a lot last time in VIR, taking his maiden victory in that white and purple machine. A very, very impressive run year on from his debut. And then this is a driver that I am very interested to see what they're going to be able to do. Jeremy Fletcher, first time into the series. This is going to be fun for him.
Yeah, comes in with a good resume in single-make racing across a couple different disciplines and has been right on the pace right away, as you would expect at Road America. Knows about driving momentum cars, low-horsepower cars, and driving them fast. He won't be intimidated by the nature of GR Cup racing with the side-by-side, sometimes 3- and 4-wide moments that you're going to have throughout this pack. So I expect him to be right there in the mix, but the challenge for him is he doesn't have, I don't believe, any experience in wet conditions, driving one of these cars, at least not in the real world. Maybe he's fired it up on iRacing and tried to test it out that way, but that is going to be difficult for him. Starting up towards the front, though, that should help. He won't have so much spray in his face, and I suppose the other good thing is he knows some of the guys around him do have experience in these cars, and he can help himself by tiptoeing around, following them through, and trying to learn the ropes on the fly.
And I'll have to talk to Kyle Heyer and Justin Prince, who host the Esports Championship for Toyota GR Cup North America, if they had a rain race last time out. I'm not sure if they did or not. But if you want to check those out, by the way, those are always the weekend before our races. So that'll be in, I believe, 2 weeks' time. We will be hosting it from Barber Motorsports Park. And make sure to check on over to the GT World YouTube channel to be able to watch Justin and Kyle do their thing in the virtual world. 1 minute away from the formation lap. It does look like it has stopped raining, so that means we're going to start probably about halfway through this race seeing that dry line start to form. No, I take that back. As he points out on the screen, it does look like it's still coming down a little bit more. It does look like cleanup has been concluded outside the kink, but the rain is certainly lessening, especially as it was about 20-30 minutes ago when it was really coming down in buckets.
Well, and here's the thing that will help. You have maybe the biggest field on site in any series that's about to go, and even a lap or two under the formation lap, under the safety car, rather. 28 of these cars on their wet Continental tires. That's going to move a lot of the water around. It'll help displace some of those puddles, and hopefully that gives us a track that is suitable for some exciting racing. Not the first time we've seen these cars here in mixed conditions. If memory serves, at least one of the races last year was rain affected as well, and my recollection is it put on a pretty good show.
Yeah, it always does. There is always a lot of very good action when things get wet. I think back to our inaugural season when we were in mixed conditions at Circuit of the Americas and just how incredible of a run that was. And I think especially with all of these drivers mixed up in the field, we talked about it already, Workman starting back in 10th place, Kohlbecker in 7th, Weisenberg all the way at the back of the field. We've got fast drivers that want to get to the front, and everything's going to change around in a very variable race.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really curious to see how this shakes out with the conditions the way that they are, and they should change quite drastically in the next 45 minutes or so. Clock is rolling as anticipated. Cars leaving behind the safety car, so an important formation and sighting lap here for these drivers. And the anticipation is it could be multiple laps, that is, behind the safety car, just to make sure everyone's got the track, the nature of the track figured out and the conditions figured out before we go racing for the first time.
Yeah, and you can see there, the other thing that I did want to make note of is there was some relatively significant wind that was coming across as this weather pattern rolled on through. I, of course, was down on pit lane for the last session, and you can see some of that debris onto the left side of the track there, driver's left, is that it's kind of blown up onto it. So I wonder if that's going to affect drivers' thinking a little bit as they try to go 2, maybe even 3 wide here down into turn 5.
Now, they'll be citing that here on this lap, that's for sure. We got so much, though, to chew on here throughout this field. You've got some new names coming in, mixing things up with the established stars. Championship battle still very much up for grabs here, too, as we get down to the meaty end of the season. Things come to a close rather quickly after this. Just 4 races remain after this weekend. And for those that have some gaps to make up from a points perspective, or for those that just haven't had the season that they were looking for and want something they can hang their hat on, there's not much time left to get it done.
No, there isn't, and certainly when you look at the schedule, a win here at Road America and a win in our final round in Indianapolis, those are the kind of things you want to hang your hat on. Those are the kind of things that you can brag about to your friends and say, I won at 2 of the greatest racetracks in the United States. And so the stakes are going to be raised a little bit more for a lot of these drivers, I think, as they try to get their way forward. And certainly for Max Schweid, starting in this pole position, a young driver out of Florida, the Miami region, has done a lot of simulator racing as well as quite a bit of racing in other single-make series. Really knows his stuff. It is a remarkable young man. Also want to give some great shout-outs here to Rutledge Wood. You may recognize him as a TV celebrity, but he also knows how to wheel a car around here. Rutledge going to be rolling off with us as he has done once already this season back at Circuit of the Americas, and I believe he will be with us at Indianapolis, and I believe Barber as well.
That's cool to hear. He's my neighbor, my rental house neighbor here this weekend in Elkhart Lake. So anyway, howdy neighbor. Good luck here in the race today.
Taking a look, it does look like the lights are still on the safety car, so we will have at least one more lap of yellow conditions here. I got to agree with race control for that. Give these drivers just as much time as possible to get everything underneath them to really understand what this track is going to do.
And we should stress it has not rained in any session prior to this one for Toyota GR Cup North America, so it is a bit of a trip into the unknown. You talked about our pole sitter, though, Max Schweid, first pole for him of the season, and coming off his best result of the season. Finished 5th the last time out at VIR race number 2. 11th in points, but things starting to trend the right way. Had a bit of a swoon mid-season, let's say, but things back on track a little bit, and this is the kind of result, at least the qualifying result, that could really help jumpstart a young driver's season and then into the next year as well.
Yeah, and I want to give them and his primary sponsor, the Chicane Club, a lot of credit. They are one of the more familiar sites in the paddock. Always love to chat with us, and Max is such a good kid to be able to talk to him about really anything. Loves to give us a little bit of insight and all of that from behind, but also so impressed not only by this rookie, but by this true rookie in Parker DeLong, starting out in 2nd position from Arizona, I do believe, and he's kind of set the world on fire starting off 2nd.
Super impressive from Glendale, Arizona. Don't expect you see rain like this all that often down in Glendale, but does have some Trans Am experience, some other single-make racing experience too coming into this weekend here. But yeah, super impressive result in qualifying to stick that car on the front row, and he's got his teammate alongside. So Tech Sport, they can kind of control the start of this race if they play their cards right.
Well, and crucial that they'll be starting in single file order. When I talked to a bunch of these drivers, I heard anywhere from 6/10 to a full second. That's how much this draft can mean around here. So if Tech Sport plays their cards right, maybe let the likes of Fletcher and Goulart and Robusto fight a little bit behind them. That could maybe let these 2 Tech Sport drivers get up ahead.
Well, they'll be thinking about that for sure, trying to cooperate on that start and maybe time it so the 2 can work together and pull a bit of a gap. They've got a little more time to think about it. We're anticipating 1 additional lap beyond this one behind the safety car, and then we'll get off and running here at Road America. This is not great news for Weisenberg, who starts at the very back due to that chassis change, and as a consequence, he's already running out of time. So much time has ticked off. These safety car laps take what feels like an eternity, especially if you're Weisenberg here at Road America. And he'll know he's got his work cut out for him to get up to any kind of representative result here today.
Yeah, he's really going to have to try to fight. And again, as we talked about, damage mitigation is really the position that he is in. Started off the season so well. I remember vividly talking to him at Sonoma. We said, what's the expectation for this year? He said 14. 14 to 14, I'm doing it. That's what I'm going to do. Obviously, that hasn't shaked out the way that we necessarily thought it would, but he is up in that championship conversation as we really expected that he would be. And to that point, it has brought out what we expected all along in this series. You know, we had dominance in the past from Tyler Gonzalez and then from Gresham Wagner, and we were kind of waiting for that other foot to fall to see where the big battle was going to be, and this has truly proven to be that. Whether you are talking about an Ethan Goulart taking their victory or a Lucas Weisenberg, Weston Workman, and a Jackson Bell and Will Robusto.
Yeah, Weisenberg's been really strong this year. Won from pole in the season opener. Had some misfortune in race 2 there at Sonoma, but won again at Circuit of the Americas. Hasn't won since. A couple of runner-up results at Sebring and VIR, but this is a driver, one win on the resume coming into the season a couple of years ago. He's got the experience now. It's still impressive to me that he does this with the Lucas Racing small family-run team behind him, but has consistently been there nipping at the heels of some of the front runners and has established himself, as you say, as one of the top dogs in the championship here this year, along with Weston Workman. Jackson Bell is there too. Will Robusto, a race winner, and Ethan Goulart, I think, somebody to keep an eye on as well, especially coming off that win at VIR. We talked about it with Workman, didn't we, where he had been so close so many times. You got the sense if he could get one, maybe the floodgates would open up, and Goulart could be in that position too, especially here at Road America, where he won the Spec Miata National Championship in the SCCA runoffs at this track 1 year ago.
Yes, he did. So he knows this place well. And again, momentum-based cars such as that, you've got to feel it through the corner, really feel that roll and carry as much speed as possible around there. Obviously, these cars a little bit different, a little bit souped up, a little bit more horsepower, a little bit more downforce. You can see the rear wings on the back of the cars there, for example, and obviously the sequential transmission that is put in the Bosch system as well. Plenty of stuff to be able to put in to make these cars a little bit more race car-ish, if you will. Let's talk for a minute about Jackson Bell, the Copeland Motorsport driver. We mentioned him. That's the driver of starting off in 6th place in the number 7 machine. Jackson has really been a force to be reckoned with since he came into this series.
Yeah, finished 4th in the championship last year, got a win from pole in race 2 at Circuit of the Americas earlier this year, and has been there in that championship conversation really all season long. Despite getting 2 poles at VIR, it was a bit of a weekend to forget. 4th and 14th, the 2 results there, and that's seen him drop now 46 points out of the championship lead. So when we were talking earlier about those that maybe need to make up some ground with time running out, I would put him on the fringe of that category. He can't afford to fall much further back as the races start to run out. The good news is he's starting ahead of both of the guys he's chasing in the championship, so this could be a very good day.
Exactly, and one of the things that I've really come to appreciate about Jackson is his heads up about driving. He really understands what he needs to do championship-wise. Don't get me wrong, that killer instinct is there. I vividly remember him last year at Circuit of the Americas after an amazing battle with Gresham Wagner, coming off the podium and being very upset about it and saying, I could have almost got it, but he knows how to be able to fight for those championship points and keep the car on the black stuff and get those numbers.
Now, this will be a big moment for him for sure. Conditions continuing to improve around the track. Lights off on the safety car, so that means we're getting closer to getting this race underway, at least as far as green flag conditions are concerned. And some of the fans watching from trackside reporting to us as well that at least where they're watching from, the rain is starting to taper off, if not stop completely. Now, it's worth keeping in mind, this place is massive. 14 turns, 4 miles, so it can be dry in one section of the track and still pouring down in another, but it does look like, in general, the conditions are improving at a pretty rapid rate.
Yes, they are, and so that means these drivers are going to have to be up on the wheel and make sure they are feeling how this track is going to evolve over the course of everything. Max Schweid going to lead us around through Bill Mitchell Bend, and we've got a guest that's going to be ready to wave the flag. There he is. That's Dan Roche, Director of Marketing and Product Management for Briggs & Stratton Thank you, Dan, for being here. We are very happy to welcome him. Love having guests to be able to wave the flag.
Special moment there and a great place to take in the start of one of these Toyota GR Cup North America races. Out of turn 14, Max Schweid starts to pick up the pace, looking for the green flag.
All eyes towards the flag stand here. Schweid fully on the loud pedal as the green flag flies, and we are racing here at Road America. As we set a single file start, you can see that spray starting to come in. It looks like Schweid's been able to get a little bit of a run over DeLong. Bell popping out in line, but now here comes DeLong. I thought he was a little far back, squirming under braking. They're going to go side by side into one.
How about that from the rookie? First time starter, not holding back at all. DeLong going side by side, looking for the lead of the race. Fletcher looking to follow him through. That's the third place car in line. Whoa, Goulart goes a little bit wide there, able to keep it on the black stuff, but it leaves the door open and a couple of drivers pounce and come through.
And that's going to be DeLong up into the lead. Schweid's able to hold on to second place. Fletcher starting to look there. Goulart falling back through the order, as you said. Let's see, and that's Will Robusto and Jackson Bell, so two of those title contenders that we talked about. And look at Spike Kohlbecker making his way on through.
Yeah, certainly is. He's looking aggressive here in the early going. Down to turn 5 for the first time at speed. DeLong and Schweid throw Fletcher into the mix too. Fight is for second and third. Fletcher to the inside of Schweid on the run up the hill.
Oh, shades of Gonzalez and Wagner a couple of years ago as they go side by side. Fletcher's going to hold that position over Goulart. That's Robusto putting a couple tires off into the dirt. Everybody putting tires off into the dirt as they come up and over 7 and now into hurry downs.
That dirt might be mud with all the rain we've had here over the course of the day today. Robusto, a race winner earlier this season, trying to find that form again after some struggles through the middle part of the year, but looking strong right now, running in the 4th spot. Side by side fight at the front of the field. Here comes Fletcher working the outside around DeLong and able to grab the lead into the carousel.
And I think DeLong may have made a little bit of a mistake. Robusto trying to be aggressive there on the back of Schweid through the carousel as well. Too wide on the exit. They're going to have to get themselves sorted out before the kink, and Robusto's got the move done.
This is a single file corner in the best of conditions. These are not the best of conditions. They do get it sorted out. Great fight, though, at the front of the field. Somehow they do make it through side by side a little bit further in the pack. A few cars leaning on each other through the kink.
I think that was Schweid and Bell potentially that were going at it. Spike Kohlbecker waiting to pick up the pieces. Bell now attacking on Schweid side by side again for second place. That's DeLong and Robusto. Robusto holds on to second. Battle for 4th now between Schweid and Bell.
Now Robusto up a position. He's into 2nd spot, and he's got in the crosshairs the leading car of Fletcher at the front of this field. So much changing here through the first green flag lap at Road America. 31 minutes still on the clock, coming by to complete the first lap at speed. How about this opening lap? How about the rookies really acquitting themselves well?
Very, very much so. I am very impressed here by Fletcher and by Schweid, just being able to hold on after it looked like it was getting piled on for him. DeLong is well up in 3rd place, but I think this is Will Robusto's time. He's got a nice little draft on the back of Fletcher. He's going to poke his nose to the outside, thinks about it. He's going to stay in line through 1, but he is threatening.
Lucas Weisenberg, by the way, from the back of the field has picked up 5 positions, shown in 23rd, but still a lot of work to do. Weston Workman, the points leader, only improved 1 position. He's now up into the 9th spot. So Workman still some effort ahead of him to try and get into the position he'd like to be. It's Fletcher who leads the race.
Fletcher leads the race. Here they go, a little bit of a farther off in the back. Fletcher trying to hold on to that attack from Robusto. There is that battle for first that we talked about. Goulart holding on now. Workman looking ahead, trying to move his way up forward. Oh, big slip and slide from Robusto. He's going to go off into 5.
He does, gathers it up, though, using that extended runoff that's there. That allows Fletcher to build that lead. Amazing. Robusto kept his foot in. It really didn't lose a whole heck of a lot of ground. Didn't lose any positions. He's got DeLong tucked up right behind the rear wing. Schweid is there, as is Jackson Bell. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, all running close together.
All right, Fletcher now, as a result of that little bit of a slide, has some breathing room up front, something that Robusto is going to want to try to take away. Schweid goes defensive down into 8. Everybody taking different lines there. Schweid actually gaining a lot of running on what I would assume would be the wet line there, Ryan, to the inside. And here he comes on to Parker DeLong.
Schweid working the outside through the carousel. Looking for that grip. Is it to be found on the outside? Hard to tell. Not able to get alongside or stay alongside of DeLong. Has to tuck back in line in the 4th spot. This is 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Jackson Bell, an interested spectator. Kohlbecker and Weir have closed up on this pair as well while they continue to battle.
And again, we see Max Schweid taking a little bit of an alternate line, what we would call that rain line, trying to see if there's a little bit of extra speed to be gained. Coming down into Canada corner, Schweid down to the inside, almost back to the rear bumper there of DeLong, but he's going to carry more momentum. I am very, very impressed with this number 98.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Schweid doing a really tremendous job. From pole position, dropped a few positions in the running order, but still holding strong in the 4th spot. If he can hang on there, it would be a season best result, trying to keep that going. Everywhere you look, though, a battle to chronicle. It's Workman in the 13, running in the 9th position. He's got Galanti right behind him, Ford Koch and Jack Murchison all lined up as well.
Yeah, and for Weston Workman, this is not what he wants to see, that gap in front of Ethan Goulart. He needs to try to jump ahead and get his way into this top 5, into this breakaway up at the front of the field. As we've got a battle side by side, Will Robusto trying to make a move to the outside, contact!
Two come together in turn 1. Spinning around is Fletcher. Robusto able to continue on. Other cars going wide as well. Hopefully they kept it clean. At the moment, it's Robusto leading, but for how much longer? Here comes DeLong back on the charge to the inside for the race lead.
And I think there Robusto's going to be able to roll speed around the outside and keep it at bay, but he rolls too much speed, goes out into the dirt, kicks up some mud and some water, and that's going to give the lead over to DeLong, and we've got Peyton Fain off into the gravel.
Not sure she'll be able to resume the race, stuck in that gravel trap. Look how much ground Robusto lost when he lost the momentum like a freight train. The rest of the front runners come on by. DeLong had the lead, but for how much longer? Here comes Schweid again, trying to make the outside work. That car sideways through the brake zone, opens up the door to the inside. Here comes Jackson Bell from 6th on the grid, challenging for 2nd place.
And this is some of that aggression that I talked about, that calculated aggression from Jackson Bell. No, but there goes the tech sport driver of Schweid off and into the mud. He's going to rejoin behind Weir. That'll be 5th place. And now Robusto, who's been shuffled all the way back down in the order, is going to try to move his way ahead. But Jackson Bell with the drive here, as that was a little bit of a look from Kohlbecker.
Track online in a lot of the corners is starting to dry out. But when you try and make that pass, it means you're going offline, and consequently there's not much grip to be found. It's caught out a couple of these young drivers. They've done fairly well to gather it back up, albeit having lost a few positions. So everything's sorting itself back out. It's DeLong at the front, Bell giving chase, then Spike Kohlbecker, Christian Weir in 4th. Schweid, the pole sitter, has dropped back at the back of this pack now.
He leads over Robusto. A little bit of a slip and slide there for Christian Weir. That was a scary moment through the kink. Kohlbecker, the latest, to try to go there. But now here comes Robusto and Weir. That's going to be a battle back for the 4th position. They're going to try to get themselves sorted. Robusto on the binders. They continue to go, and they're going to run off, and Robusto really making use of those wet tires, going off into the mud once again.
His travails may not be over. The incident involving Robusto and Fletcher under review by race control. Fletcher has been able to continue on. Shown down, though, in 16th position. He definitely got the worst end of it. Let's take a look back on what happened just about a lap or so ago.
That's Robusto in the orange and blue to the outside, and Fletcher in the black. Comes down into the corner. Contact between the two. Robusto able to carry on. That's we'll have to see what race control says about that, Ryan. That's pretty cut and dry, or pretty close, rather.
Yeah, well put. I don't want any part of having to adjudicate on that, so we'll let the pros do what they do. We'll do our best to do what we're doing here as DeLong continues to lead. Battle here to the inside. Christian Weir putting some pressure on as his charge up through the field continues.
All right, Spike Kohlbecker taking a look, but now we've got to focus on Weir, as that's Ford Koch and Weston Workman. This is what Workman needs to have happen, compress that front of the field, and he works his way by Koch. Koch gets a little bit of a wiggle coming out of turn 3, and now they get onto the loud pedal, and he's going to try to close down on Christian Weir.
Well, this is, like you said, what Workman needs to do, especially with Jackson Bell running so well up in the 2nd spot. An update on Lucas Weisenberg. Race winner a couple of times already this year. Had to start at the back. He's climbed up to 19th position from the very back of the pack.
Oh, and Robusto gets up onto the curbing, as does Christian Weir, and I think that caused the car to just kind of get a little bit of squirreliness coming down to the brake zone for turn 5. Heads up driving, both of them able to be fine. Workman still involved in the battle with Weir. Oh, there was some contact there, I think, through that corner.
Super close between the two of them. If they didn't touch, it was close. They did touch that time. There's no debating that. But Workman emerges on the other side relatively unscathed. Right now shown in the 7th position. His target up next is the Ford Koch machine up there in the 6th position.
And this is a good run for Ford, for Copeland Motorsports in that grip machine. He's been doing a really, I would say, a solid job this year. Got a couple of top 10s, I believe, up and down a little bit as things go. But this is, I think, the best drive we've really seen from him. We'll have to hope it carries on.
Yeah, 3 top 10s this year for Ford Koch, including a best result of 4th in Race 2 at Circuit of the Americas. He was top 10 in both of those races earlier in the season, but since then it's been a bit of a struggle. Failed to finish at VIR race number 2, and I might have shortchanged him 1 top 10, make it 4 top 10s on the season because he was 6th at VIR race 1.
Checking back on the battle for the lead to Long and Bell, and it is Bell on the hunt. You saw him kind of just poking and prodding down into Canada Corner. Now as they come up and over Bill Mitchell Bend, it looks like the 47 Tech Sport machine starts to stretch their legs a little bit. Again, different lines, and that's even in dry conditions, not altogether unsurprising coming down into 14.
Interesting to compare the two, the lines they take. You can tell, though, the dry line is starting to emerge. How quickly the rest of the track will drive remains to be seen, and it might require some of that to see the kind of side-by-side action we're accustomed to. That said, it's been a frantic start to this race, and it's been pretty captivating. The other element, too, is as the track dries out, how well will these rain tires hold up with the increased temperature that you'll get when you get to the dry asphalt?
Very good point. As we check back farther in the field, that's Galante and that's Stallone. Galante getting sideways for Eagles Canyon Racing, making contact with Stallone and I believe Murchison, but everybody keeps it straight and narrow. Stallone putting in another impressive performance up into the top 10. That PT Autosport driver doing what he did at VIR and raising a few eyebrows.
Certainly so. That was a really impressive debut. Drafted into the car midway through the season and had some solid runs at VIR, trying to keep that going here at Road America. A peak here at Weisenberg, who, as we would expect, has been charging through the field, but only up to 19th. Still has a lot of work to do to get up into the points.
Spike Kohlbecker in that yellow machine down to the inside of the slipping and sliding Max Schweid, so he's going to get that done into turn 5. That's going to let Kohlbecker loose on this battle up for the lead. If that is to say, if Schweid can't catch him back up, as we've seen Schweid be able to bounce back very well. Will Robusto, though, hunting in behind as well, off into the background there. I believe that was Koch that got a little bit sideways and into the dirt. Here comes a move from Robusto looking on him, and it's not going to play.
It's been an up and down day for Will Robusto. He's been up there challenging for the lead. He's had a couple of moments slip back through the pack, now charging back forward. However, here's the word from race control. Penalty, car number 2, Will Robusto, incident responsibility. That was the contact with Jeremy Fletcher that sent Jeremy plummeting down the order. So a drive-through penalty coming for the car shown right now in 5th.
Yeah, and for a moment like that in a single-make sprint series, that is pretty much a death now. He will finish near the back of the field, if not the very back. Hard to see that there for Will Robusto, but that is what race control has ruled here. He'll be hoping for a yellow to come out after he serves it, but he's not going quietly, though, fighting right now with Max Schweid.
It makes you wonder if he's received that message just yet. He's putting a lot on the line here with Schweid. I don't know if Schweid knows about this, but if he does, he might want to just let that car go. Hard to do that, though, when you've got a hard charger up behind like Ford Koch, who's now entered into the conversation, and he's bringing Weston Workman with him.
Now, Koch has got to be careful here because that pit, there it is. All right, that's a good heads up from Robusto. Throws on the blinker, indicates he's coming into pit lane. Koch will see that, and what I was about to say, being wary of that, completely avoided. Now, Koch going to try to hold off Weston Workman. This will promote the two of them up into 5th and 6th place, but again, that gap in front of Koch, that is not what Workman wants to see.
No, No, started 10th. He's made some progress to get up to 6th, but he's got some work to do to get around Katja, then maybe catch up with the top 4. Here is Fletcher right in the middle of this pack, black and orange machine. He's recovered pretty nicely, DJ. He was back down around 20th after his spin that Robusta was just penalized for. Now finds himself just outside of the top 10 in the 11th position.
And maybe going for one more, taking a look to the inside there of Murchison, the Copeland Motorsport teammates. Not able to get it done, and that may slow down Fletcher just a little bit, not rolling the full speed through the corner, but Jack's going to have to watch his rearview mirrors. As we said earlier, 0.6 to up to a full second what the draft is worth around here.
Weisenberg up a couple more positions, now shown in 17th, so not too much longer, and he might enter into this conversation as Fletcher sends it up the inside of the 10th place car down in turn 5. That was pretty neat and tidy, really no room to counterattack there, so put Fletcher ahead of Murchison and up into 10th once more.
Checking back in on the battle for the top 5, Ford Koch for Copeland Motorsports, still holding off the BSI Racing driver of Weston Workman. Big move to the outside there for Max Schweid. That was a little strange.
Yep, perhaps trying to play a little defense, maybe trying to find some moisture on the track to keep those Continental tires cool. That's a consideration this deep into the run as the track, which started off totally drenched, starts to dry out in the later stages of the race.
Yeah, and that's something that we're going to continue to see as this race goes along. Ryan, you mentioned it earlier, that you've got to try to keep the big off in the background for Christian Weir there. Lucky he was able to keep that rear underneath that purple and orange machine.
Yeah, certainly so. Quick hands, great save. Still drifting it around, and it looks like maybe the rear is starting to give up this deep into the run, and Christian Weir is going to have to manage that the rest of the way. Good fight here, though, between the 98 machine, that's Schweid, and Kohlbecker in that bright yellow car, currently holding the third and final step of the podium. Kohlbecker, it's been a bit of a strange season. He was a championship contender of sorts a year ago, certainly a front runner in both of the first 2 years, finishing 3rd and 2nd in points. Just hasn't been able to replicate that magic.
No, he really hasn't, and we all kind of picked him as one of those early championship favorites coming into 2025, and we just haven't seen the results from him yet. And I think it surprised Spike as much as it surprised us, truthfully.
13 combined podiums over these first 2 seasons in the championship, just one, though, this year, to give you some idea of the relative struggles of Spike Kohlbecker from St. Louis, Missouri. 7th in points, 92 tallies out of the championship lead. Safe to say, not where he thought he'd be.
This is going to be a battle that gets very, very spicy. This is going to be Ethan Goulart, Max Stallone, and Fletcher. This is for 8th right now. There you see Stallone aggressively, offensively and defensively. I think that was a two-meaning approach to the inside of turn number 3. They're going to get on the loud pedal coming down the back straightaway right now with Goulart up ahead for Tech Sport. This double draft could certainly help out Fletcher and get him a little bit of a run. We may see a couple wide coming down into 5.
Stallone, another one of those that was racing here in a Spec Miata recently. He was here for the June Sprints, which is a very prestigious amateur road racing competition held annually at Road America. So that was important track time for him, and it's paid some dividends. He's having another solid run after a 10th and an 8th in the first 2 races of his season in Toyota GR Cup the last time out.
Yeah, and PT Autosport obviously working with Henry Drury last year, most notably, really focused on bringing those drivers up to the 4, getting them in machinery and promoting them up through the ranks. And what a great series to be able to do that. And checking back at the front, Parker DeLong, Jackson Bell, they continue to hold station 1 and 2 with DeLong sliding his way. Max Schweid also sliding their way through the carousel.
We're going to see a lot of that, I think, as the race progresses. The dry line starting to materialize, these wet weather tires starting to degrade. They're just not made for racing in dry conditions. So who manages those tires best? Who can keep the heat down, relatively speaking, and keep the tires under them the rest of the way? 14 and a half minutes if we stay green. That's a long way to go yet, and you can tell those tires are already screaming for some relief.
And Jackson Bell able to make the move coming down into the braking zone of Canada Corner. Going to run a little bit wide. Is that going to open up the door here for DeLong? No, it's not. Move the Copeland Motorsport driver back to the point. He is leading this race.
How about that? Power move from Bell, who had been very circumspect in his charge up through the field. Got to second, sat there for quite a few laps right behind DeLong, but saw his opportunity and pounced around the outside, takes the lead into Canada Corner, and now DeLong will need to battle back up the hill here if he's going to take the fight to the race leader, new race leader, Jackson Bell.
And Bell starting to do what we've seen him do when he is in the front of these races, which is, well, to steal a phrase, a dragon move. Moving back and forth, trying to break that draft as much as possible. May not have worked here as DeLong's going to have a look around the outside. Thought about coming down to the inside. Little fender-to-fender contact there. Bell's going to go very slightly wide. Call that a little bit wider than anticipated, but he's still going to hold on to the lead.
It's brought Kohlbecker into the equation. It's brought Schweid into the equation. Here comes Koch. Here as well comes Weston Workman, who is as close to the front of the field as he has been all race long. Points leader coming in, and he'll know he needs to go now because one of his championship rivals is at the point, threatening to score maximum points.
And crucially here for him, it's a 5-second gap back to 7th place rather of Christian Weir. But up at the front here comes DeLong to the outside of Bell. It's going to be a battle of the late breakers. Down into 5, almost Noah's Ark behind him. Bell gets it done. DeLong looked for the crossover, and it wasn't there.
And super well judged, and Bell knows he's a little bit vulnerable, so he covers off the inside in the run up to turn 6, able to hang on to the lead, forces everyone else to accordion up behind. It's now become a 7-car train as Christian Weir has latched onto the back.
Here they go, coming through that turn 7 area where we've seen so much mud kicked up. Kohlbecker tries to take a look to the inside. That's going to scupper any chance here for Max Schweid to really get anything. Or is it? Schweid with a good crossover coming through 8. Carried good momentum. Kohlbecker blocks him off.
Apologies, I misspoke. Weir is about 5 seconds behind this battle, running strong, though, in the 7th position. It was Weston Workman at the tail end of this pack, trying to size them up. Just in front of him, it's side-by-side here. Koch and Schweid just in front of Workman, and they're still side-by-side headed towards the King.
Looks like Schweid's going to back off a little bit, maybe let Koch on through, but that could give him a little bit more run. I think Koch's lines would compromise coming through the King. Watch out for Schweid here, and also watch out for Workman into Canada Corner.
You could see how much it cost that trio, though, in terms of time. Meanwhile, at the front, Bell and DeLong continuing to go at it side-by-side. Here we go again with Koch up the inside, opening the door maybe for Workman to go on the attack. At the front of the field, though, DeLong around the outside grabs the top spot back from Jackson Bell.
Through Bill Mitchell, Ben, that is not a pass you see every day. I think it really shows the comfortability and confidence that DeLong has in his machine. And now with that run, Bell has found himself under the clutches here of Spike Kohlbecker trying to make that move.
Eye-opening performance from DeLong, making his first start in the championship and learning on the fly here in really tricky conditions, making the most of it, going head-to-head with the championship contender in Jackson Bell.
Farther back in the field, this is Goulart and Fletcher. This is the battle for 8th position. Oh, we've got to go back up front because Kohlbecker tried to make that move on Jackson Bell, and there's Schweid trying to make the move on Ford Koch. Koch goes a little bit wide. Same story up front. This is just changing left and right. Here comes Kohlbecker on Bell into 3.
And maybe he heard us talking about his season being somewhat disappointing up to this point, even by his own standards. He's right now in podium contention, looking for his 2nd of the season, but still in pursuit of that win. He's pretty close to it, but he has to make the move here on Jackson Bell if he's going to take the fight to DeLong.
He's going to have to work for it. Bell with the windshield wipers going. Now it looks like they stopped as I think the rain has stopped falling. Here comes Kohlbecker down to the inside, looking, not able to do it. They'll stay relatively calm, cool, and collected here in this leading battle. But Parker DeLong loving seeing Jackson Bell having to look in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, precisely. It's holding them up, isn't it? It's let DeLong build what, in the context of Toyota GR Cup, is a pretty sizable lead.
Yep.
0.6 of a second over 2nd place Jackson Bell. Then it's the yellow machine. 3rd place car, Spike Kohlbecker. Behind them, Schweid and Koch and Workman still duking it out amongst themselves. Schweid right now has the better of that trio. He's back up into the 4th spot and actually quite quickly has started to run down Kohlbecker once again.
And this area of the track is really where I've been impressed by Schweid. He's been able to find some good lines through this area and carry good momentum. So through the carousel down into the kink, keep an eye on him. going to keep playing out. Little bit of a slide there for DeLong. That's going to cost him just a little bit of time and maybe give Jackson Bell the impetus to try to send a move into Canada corner.
Lucas Weisenberg update. Again, had to start at the back of the field because of a chassis change. Came in 39 points out of the championship lead. He's come through the field, but only to 16th, and he has a few seconds he still has to make up to catch the next batch of traffic to pick up a few more positions.
Ford Koch, Weston Workman. Looks like Workman's going for the crossover as Koch runs a little bit wide. Weston Workman's going to have to keep his foot in it and try to pull a Parker DeLong coming up through Bill Mitchell Bend. That's exactly what he tries for. They're still side by side as they come through 13 and now onto the binders into turn 14. A little bit of a wiggle there from Koch. That's going to give Workman the opportunity.
How much is Weston Workman willing to lay it on the line with the championship lead in hand, knowing he's got a fairly healthy gap in that title chase? Do you take the risk? Well, evidently the answer is yes. He grabs that position away, but it's cost him a ton of track position. They've got some work to do if they're going to catch this leading tandem. 4 cars roaring down towards turn 1, led by Parker DeLong.
That was Schweid looking a little bit to the outside, but the front 3 keep themselves relatively orderly. DeLong, Bell, and Kohlbecker. Wide run for Workman, just trying to carry as much speed as possible. Kohlbecker trying to be able to hunt. There it is. DeLong, Kohlbecker, and Bell as they come through turn 3 right now. Oh, kicking up all of that mud and water on corner exit, making what are very, very pretty race cars a little bit dirty.
Have to wonder what that does to the visibility of the trailing cars as well. Could this be strategic by Parker DeLong? Kick up some of that mud, and it's like the old oil slick, right, from Wacky Racers or something like that. I don't know if it works quite that well, but DeLong leads this thing. Bell continues to give chase. Then it's Kohlbecker, Schweid, Workman, and Koch. That top 6, they've been linked together for the better part of 20 minutes.
Schweid was very late on the brakes coming down into turn 5. I thought he was actually going to make contact with the back of Spike Kohlbecker, but good on Max to get that car slowed down. So they now come through hurry downs. See if anybody runs a little bit wide there. No, they're keeping it together. So it looks like they've got those wet weather tires cooled for the moment, that we're not having nearly as much sliding from the rears as we had earlier.
It's interesting to note that a good chunk of the field just did their best first sector on this lap. Out of the top 16 cars, all but 4 were faster through sector 1 than they had been at any point earlier in the race. So it tells us 2 things. Number 1, the track continues to dry out, conditions continue to improve, and number 2, the tires are up for the challenge.
That they are. Weston Workman going for a little bit of a ride there out of the carousel, and now it's going to be Ford Koch all over the rear of Workman's number 13. And here comes Spike Kohlbecker side by side with Jackson Bell. Max Schweid going to be right behind him, going to try to go here down into Canada corner.
I think Schweid might have helped push him through. Kohlbecker is up to second place. Bell, though, fighting back, not just fending off the 98, but also coming back to the outside now of Kohlbecker in the fight for second. This is great for Parker DeLong. Let them battle behind for second, third, fourth, and fifth. He's got the lead, and it continues to grow.
And here comes Workman down to the inside of Schweid going through turn 14. This is what we've seen from Weston. Oh, that was a little piece of bodywork getting kicked up onto the outside. That was actually, I believe, the side of the rear wing from Workman, and he appears to be a little slow.
Well, we'll see if that momentum from the contacts cost him too much. Right now, he's vulnerable to Koch coming down the front straightaway, but he does have the inside line and a toe off of Jackson Bell, who's trying to plot a course back by Spike Kohlbecker. Workman able to fend off the challenge. This has been a very measured drive for Weston Workman to get up to the 5th position after starting in 10th, and he's not done yet with 5 minutes to go.
No, he's not, and with about 2-minute 44-second laps, I would say we're sitting at 2, maybe 3 to go as they come onto the back straight here, down through the Moraine Sweep. Big off. That's Fletcher, who has been able to catch up to the back of this crew.
Holy smokes, you're right. How about that recovery from Jeremy Fletcher, another newcomer who has been super strong all race long, all weekend long. Yeah, the lap times out of Fletcher have been just monumental. He just did a 2:43.4. That's a second more or less quicker than the leader.
That is absolutely remarkable from Jeremy Fletcher, and this is a definite case of coulda, woulda, shoulda. What could have happened if there wasn't that contact with Will Robusto? But world, take notice of this number 22 in Jeremy Fletcher. I think we've got somebody who knows how to wheel a car.
Well, if you'd seen him race in any of the other championships he's driven in over the past couple of years, you knew it was just a question of how long does it take to get acclimated to Toyota GR Cup, the tire, the car, the racing. Hasn't taken him long. Really impressive showing. Could have been so much more if not for the contact, you're right, but a good recovery as it runs right now. So DeLong leads, Kohlbecker is second, Jackson Bell is third, and Weston Workman is up to fourth. Pretty good damage limitation day for Workman after a qualifying effort that only saw him start 10th.
And I think crucially here for Workman, he's going to have his eyes ahead as Bell has a big slide coming through the kink. If he's able to get by Jackson Bell, he's going to gain points in this championship no matter what. I mean, this is going to be an impressive run for Weston Workman, but the battle is not done at the front. Spike Kohlbecker all over the back of Parker DeLong. Game on for P1.
Well, that's what happens when you cooperate a little bit, and the front runners finally were able to get in line, realizing that time was running out, and if they didn't do something about it, Parker DeLong was going to run away with this thing. Instead, Kohlbecker and Bell put their heads together with a little help from Weston Workman, and they've chased down the race leader with, it looks like it's going to be very close, perhaps one, at most 2 laps to go.
Keeping an eye on the flag stand, and crucial rules clarification: you cannot lock bumpers in bump with the car in front of you. You can make contact and push, but you cannot physically lock bumpers and give a sustained push. So when we say working together, that's kind of how we mean about it.
No white flag displayed, but it's not required to be displayed. It's just going to depend on how much time is on the clock when the leaders come around the next time by. There were about 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go. That's about the lap time they've been doing the last few laps, so this will be really tight at the line. If they keep their pace up, we think, though, this should be the last lap of the race.
All right, so they're going to try to go as there we see more of those drivers splashing through the puddles at the exit of turn number 3. Kohlbecker clearly has his sights set on Parker DeLong, as does Weston Workman onto the tail of that number 7 of Jackson Bell. Here comes a defensive line from Parker DeLong. Don't really know if he needed it there necessarily, and that's going to open up an opportunity for Kohlbecker to get a crossover as DeLong slides.
Jackson Bell is right there ready to pounce as well. He's going to push if he can. Kohlbecker up on through. Kohlbecker is to the lead. Bell trying to follow him through. Weston Workman in tow as well.
Oh, Parker DeLong's just absolutely sent down into 3 contact, though, as they go. And DeLong is now into the clutches of Ford Koch as here comes Bell taking a look to the inside of 8 with a little bit of help from Weston Workman.
Koch sweeps across the, that's Kohlbecker, swept across the bow to keep Jackson Bell behind him, able for now to maintain that position. Points leader Weston Workman also in the conversation. That's the top 3, nose to tail. DeLong's been drop-kicked back to 4th place.
And he's not done yet because he's been able to close down on the back of Weston Workman coming on through. Now here as Kohlbecker is in the lead. This is not the position you necessarily want to be, though. Stallone takes a big jump through the background as he is with Kohlbecker leading at this point. Big run wide there for DeLong as he tries to carry as much momentum as possible.
Trying to keep that momentum up, but it cost him. Got out a little too wide, and Ford Koch with 2 wheels in the grass will take advantage. He comes to the inside. It's still Kohlbecker, though, at the front of the field. He leads with just a couple corners to go.
Koch able to get that maneuver done, and it looks like Schweid's trying to take him on through. Kohlbecker holding on to it as we've got to keep our eyes on the flag stand. As you said, Ryan, this could be final lap. We believe this is going to be final lap. Could Kohlbecker come through to gain his maiden victory of the 2025 season? The perennial title contender comes up and out of the final corner. He's going to bring it onto the main straightaway here. 5 seconds on the clock, looking towards the flag stand to see exactly what it will be. And it is going to be a checker, and it is going to be a victory for Spike Kohlbecker.
What a result for Kohlbecker. This has been a long time coming. Kohlbecker across the line to take his first win of the season. Bell comes home second. Workman is third. Koch and DeLong 4th and 5th. Schweid, Fletcher, Stallone, Goulart, and Murchison the top 10. Weisenberg only able to recover to 14th after starting from the back of the pack. That won't be the result he was looking for, so a big day in the points for Bell and for Workman. Here's Robusto across the line after his penalty, recovers to 19th. But the man of the hour, Spike Kohlbecker, he's been working towards this all season long. Finally, everything lines up his way. He had to work for it, but he gets the job done, taking his first victory of 2025. Wow, what a race, and in incredibly difficult conditions as well. It should be noted that the field really deserves its flowers. Race started in the rain. That rain ceased early on in the going. Track dried out quickly, but everyone was still on those wet tires, and they had to manage them to the finish. And along the way, put on a great show for us, too, with Kohlbecker edging Bell at the stripe by 0.6 of a second. Workman charging from 10th on the grid to 3rd. Koch and DeLong completing the top 5. But this will be an emotional victory lane for Spike Kohlbecker, who's been trying to get back to the top step all season long with the RVA Graphics Motorsports team. Here's a look at the provisional race results. It is Kohlbecker over Bell by 0.6 of a second. Weston Workman in 3rd. Ford Koch fighting 4th today. And Parker DeLong spent a lot of time out front. It didn't go his way late in the going. But nevertheless, a really strong debut for the young man. Ahead of Schweid, the pole sitter, ran up front all day. Ends up in 6th. Jeremy Fletcher, good recovery after a spin induced by contact, it should be noted. That saw him drop outside of the top 15, close to 20th, recovers to finish 7th. In Stallone, Goulart, and Murchison. Really good outing for them, and for Goulart as well. Didn't really call his name a whole lot, but had a strong day nevertheless with another top 10 result. Massimo Sinceri, good run for him as well from the BSI camp, up to 11th. Christian Weir faded late, ended up in 12th. Ethan Tovo, Lucas Weisenberg from the back of the field, Jackson Tovo, Livio Galanti, Carl Foreman, and on down the line. Did see Peyton Fayen off in the gravel trap at one stage, and I speculated that she wouldn't be able to get back out, but evidently they were able to get that car to a safe area because we never did go full course yellow. Once the race went green, it stayed green for the duration. And that made for a really captivating battle to the checkered flag. Kohlbecker taking his machine, number 55, back to Victory Circle, where he will celebrate for the first time this year. He's had a good career in GR Cup, coming into his 3rd season. Came into the year picked by many as a likely championship contender. That's not the way it's played out, but that might make this win all the more sweet. Chance to get back on top of the podium, and he had to really fight, showcase all of his skill, his car control, and ability to read an evolving racetrack. Not an easy thing to do. Congratulations to him and the whole RVA Graphics Motorsports team as well, putting the car underneath him to be able to challenge for the win today. Get the sense this will be a popular one. Everyone knows what a tough luck year it's been for him. DJ has made the trek down from the commentary box to chat with our race winner in Victory Lane.
Spike Kohlbecker, took you a minute to get here in 2025, but does that make this win in invariable conditions all the sweeter?
Oh, man, that was awesome. I had so much fun out there, and such a sweet win. I won here last year in the wet as well. Very similar to that race, to be honest. And can't thank Speed Syndicate enough, and RVA and all the team work that goes behind the scenes. And we get 40 people here supporting this weekend, so thanks for them for coming.
Thank you so much, Spike. Congratulations. Enjoy the podium, my friend.
Thank you.
Big smile on his face Yeah, plenty to celebrate here today for Spike Kohlbecker. Back to victory lane. And that adds yet another race winner here in 2025. It's been a remarkably competitive season since the thing got started back at Sonoma in the spring. That's a wrap for race 1 of the weekend. We get to do it again tomorrow. Race 2 from Road America coming your way on these same channels. Look forward to seeing you there.